Hello and welcome to Cult Classic Society, the podcast where I, Bobby Davies, and my friend Tim Martini go over the films, television, music, video games, books you love. Today we're going to talk about one of my favourite UK British police investigation dramas, Jonathan Creek. But before we do that, how are you, Tim?
I'm doing good, Bobby. It's been actually quite relaxing few weeks. It's the first time I can actually say I've done nothing, and I've enjoyed it.
You lazy bastard. Doing nothing is one of my top hobbies. I'm with you on that.
Honestly, I feel like because I've done so much just at the start of this year, just nice couple of weeks to relax. Obviously working and everything, but going home, barely socialising, being a vegetable. It's what I needed.
Yeah, I have to really convince my wife for a day of us both doing nothing. She's so proactive, and I need to be like, no, stop, Katie, just sit down. Right, we're going to talk about Jonathan Creek. Your required reading, I asked you to watch the first 2/3 episodes. It's a bit confusing. The first 2 episodes are actually just one story called The Wrestler's Tomb Part 1 and 2. Before we start, what did you know, if anything, about Jonathan Creek?
That your uncle's in it?
Uncle Alan, yes. Not really my uncle, but I do like to tell most people that we do share the same surname, so it's an easy sell, that one.
How many people have bought that?
A few. I once had a person be like, did you say Uncle Alan? I was like, yeah. And they went, really? I was like, yeah. And it was that easy. It was that simple. When you've got the same surname, it isn't too difficult.
Exactly.
Jonathan Creek, as I said, starring Alan Davies. The first couple of series also starring Carolyn Quentin, created by David Renwick. Renwick actually got the name from a real place that he visited in Kentucky with his wife. A creek called Jonathan Creek.
Oh.
That's where he got the name for the character. A few other people were considered for the role, including Nicholas Lyndhurst from Only Fools and Horses, Rodney.
Oh.
And Hugh Laurie of Being Hugh Laurie. No, Blackadder and House, and
Yes.
Everyone knows Hugh Laurie. And some 2 very good blues albums. I recommend people give them a listen. Maybe we'll cover those actually.
You did blues albums?
Yes. Oh, we've got an episode.
You everyone at home cannot see this. Bobby's eyes widen so much.
Do you want to borrow my vinyls?
And I have to buy your final player too.
No, yeah, we'll definitely do that then. That's a future episode. That is in the bank. Okay, awesome. Cool. So, like I said, Carolyn Quentin is Alan Davies' co-star for this one. Plays Maddie. That changes through the series, but we'll go over that after the episode. We'll talk a bit more in detail about some of the stuff that happens after. Not a lot. I won't give too many spoilers. Just a few little things. So we're starting with The Wrestler's Tomb Part 1. Now, if you watch these on BritBox, they are separated. Part 1 and Part 2. But I know DVDs and other versions of them have Part 1 and Part 2 combined to make a one long hour-and-a-half episode. Which one did you watch? What did you have, Tim?
I watched the DVD version.
DVD version combined, yeah? Nice. I watched the BritBox version, so let's see if there's I don't think we might not stumble across any differences, but we'll see. So we open in a quite a big house with a really horrible clown painting.
First thing I just thought was clown porn, really.
Yeah, it's basically clown porn. It's meant to be like artsy nudes, but they've all got sad clown faces.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's really weird.
And we meet the painter, Hedley Shale. Do you recognise the actor?
It's Colin Baker.
He's Colin Baker, the 6th Doctor from Doctor Who.
Is that Colin Baker?
It is. It is. He is obviously famous for being the 6th Doctor, and if I'm honest, I can't think of much else. I'm not.
No, just being the 6th Doctor and hating his time during the show.
Yes, yeah, I think he quite rightly too. I think they kind of pushed him around a little in the directions he didn't want to go.
The producer at the time actively hated Doctor Who.
And he didn't want to make the character all angry and bitter, and Baker didn't want to do that.
Colin Baker's first episode was him strangling a woman.
God, of course it was. Hey, the 70s. Or was it the 80s? Either or.
Either or, yeah.
So Hedley Shale flirts with the model from the painting.
Francesca,
yes.
She looked like Sharon Stone, in that outfit.
She does a little, doesn't she? That's
Yeah.
probably why they picked her, more than anything. I mean, she can act as well. She's
Yeah.
fine. She's an okay actor.
I mean, she doesn't do a convincing French accent.
No,
I
not
thought she
really.
was Swedish until they said she was French.
I don't know, actually. We'd have to look into the actress. I don't know where she was from. We then meet Shale's angry wife, Serena, who...
I mean, he's obviously quite angry.
Yes. Catching him flirting with a nude model.
Yes.
And she's actually a model as well. The way Shale thumbs at the painting is gross. He's thumbing around the arse.
Yeah, it's disgusting. But then he goes on the phone and asks for someone to come to his house after his wife just left. And he asks her to make him bark like a sea lion.
Yeah, that's gross.
A cold shiver went down my spine when I heard that line.
Of all the things that could be sexually kind of enticing to whoever that is on the other end of the line, being asked to make someone bark like a sea lion is the opposite, surely. His wife Serena leaves the house. She drives off in a strop. She drives down a pebbled driveway, and the stones just fucking fly everywhere. That's your house, man.
I was worried they could break the camera.
I'm assuming they put some kind of PVC in front of it or something just to not
Just in
break.
case.
Yeah. Serena goes to work, locks herself in an office, works at some kind of glamour magazine of some description. PA gets a phone call and says someone wants their pictures back. She goes in to go get the pictures back, and the PA accidentally calls this model, quote unquote, Danny DeVito on the phone because Serena suggests that she's short and fat, which is not pleasant.
And then she asks her, have you done much professional modelling? Rude.
I mean, her phone manner's not the best.
No.
Then Triple H appears in the garden, the black glove. That's a bit niche for any wrestling fans, but yes, there is a leather glove appears in front of the camera in the garden, kind of POV style, looking at the house. As the Black Hand is watching the house, we see the cleaner, Katrina the cleaner, heading towards work because she works for the Shales at the house. As Katrina gets in there's a crash from somewhere in the house and you hear a gunshot. So Katrina goes to find out what it is. What does she find, Tim?
She finds Colin Baker turning into Sylvester McCoy. He's dead.
Oh, if someone hasn't edited a regen scene there, I'll be disappointed. I'll be disappointed.
But also sees that Francesca is tied up in the bedroom.
Yes, so the model, Francesca, the French quote-unquote model, Francesca, is tied up on the bedroom floor. The killer looks to have escaped out of the window and made off with some jewellery.
Yeah, an old man just comes up right behind Katrina.
That was the mechanic that she walked by earlier and said hello to. Yeah. So on the way to work, she says hello to someone, and he's like, "Oh, he'd have you working."
So he let himself in straight after.
Well, he probably heard the gunshot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, it is a bit weird. Small town Britain, isn't it? They're like, we don't lock our doors. Yeah, we live in London. We have to lock our doors.
Can I just say what my first note straight after the scene was?
Go on then.
Francesca did it. That was my prediction from the start.
I mean, we might have to cut that out just for the spoilers.
It's not a spoiler. I'd say this is my prediction.
Police take Francesca's statement, and she's very upset. They then come to tell Serena at her office that her husband's been murdered. They ask where she was, and what's her alibi?
She's been there the entire time.
So she's been locked in her office the entire time and has not left, and her PA can back that up. But she does not seem that upset.
No.
Who do we meet next?
This is where we finally meet the man himself.
We meet the eponymous title character. We meet Mr. Jonathan Creek. And what does he do?
Well, he's doing maths and he's complaining that the machine is wrong at the shopping. He's buying shopping, he's buying a doll.
Yes.
And then he's watching the woman in front of him purchase a bunch of products on the till, and he's doing the maths in his head.
Yep.
He then tells them the math is wrong.
Yes, so he does the maths better than the till.
Yes.
Which, as someone who's worked in customer service, you'd hate that, but annoyingly he is right, which would be even worse, I think. And then they see that he's buying Barbie dolls, which is weird, but, not that weird. He could have daughters, nieces,
and then he chops his head
nephews who want a Barbie. But yes, it's quite sinister because he immediately chops its head off with a hacksaw, which is quite violent. I'm sure the head will just pull off if you go.
It's very hard enough.
Yeah.
But there's a reason for that.
And what is the reason we find out for this?
Because he's basically testing the magic trick that he is doing for his boss,
Adam Klaus.
The
magician. So he's got his boss is a stage magician, and he creates tricks for him.
Yes.
Uses sleight of hand and builds things that makes magic tricks work.
Yeah.
Who plays Adam Klaus?
Anthony Head.
Yes. Giles from Buffy.
So I know one fact about this.
Go on then.
He was meant to keep playing Adam for the rest of the show.
Yep.
But because he got the role of Giles in Buffy,
That is 100% correct.
recasted.
So he's only in this episode.
Yes.
One, not even in the whole first series. One episode, the pilot. Adam Klaus is mentioned for the rest of the series, but doesn't appear again. He's then recast and played by Stephen Milligan from series 2 onwards.
Yes.
Yes. What do you think of his American accent?
I mean, it's actually pretty decent.
It's not bad. It's not bad, is it? But unexpected, right?
Yeah. I
Super.
actually right. Is he doing an American accent? I was like, you know what? I think he was practicing because he needed to go to America for Buffy.
Well, he does an English accent in Buffy.
I know,
Though.
it's
In fact,
hilarious.
he dials it up 1,000,000%.
He does the inverse.
He goes super posh British. Security tries to stop Jonathan from going back to see Adam because they don't really know who he is, and they're like, they picked him up, and they're like, Adam's like, yeah, let him in, it's fine. And this is at the point where I realise how young Alan Davis looks here,
I know.
because obviously he's still on QI now. I love Alan Davis; he's brilliant at what he does, but he has obviously, like we all will, he's aged a lot in it. And this is 97, so probably recorded in 96. He just looks so young, so youthful.
Yeah, so baby face.
He does have a baby. I think still, even for his age, he has quite a baby face.
It's just the hair that doesn't make
Big curly hair, yeah. Adam invites Jonathan to go on the road with him for a tour. Jonathan turns him down, and then the assistant sticks up for Jonathan, but it's super creepy.
Yeah.
Like, Adam just puts his hand down her top and grabs her
Right in
chest.
front of Jonathan. Well, so
Yeah.
Adam says he doesn't want Jonathan to have sex, so he doesn't lose his brain power.
Oh yeah, they question whether Jonathan's a virgin, don't
Yeah.
they? And yeah, they say Adam suggests that if he isn't, then he might lose his brain power. It's just a quick clip of the police like busting into a cinema, and they arrest someone who they just go, "Excuse me, is this you?" And he's like, "What? Yeah?" And he just go, "Oh shit!"
But they do it with like little like paper signs, and it's like, "You're nicked."
Yeah, so quintessentially British, and also a bit like Love Actually, but for arresting someone.
Yeah.
So this criminal hires Maddie, who is played by Karen Quinton.
Yes.
From this is another thing that I know that's on the list that you've not seen.
Is it One Foot in the Grave?
No, she's from Men Behaving Badly. She's one of the kind of main four. There's the kind of main two blokes, and then there's two women,
Oh, okay.
and she's one of the two women in it. So her job, we find out, is that she kind of looks at bungled police investigations and then writes.
Yeah.
She's a journalist, essentially, writes about them. We also meet her boyfriend, played by. Do you know who that is?
No.
That's Alistair McGowan. He's like a comedian and impressionist.
Oh, okay.
He also went for the role of Jonathan, but never got it.
Oh.
Her publisher calls to tell her that a lot of her books have been returned for her last book. It's obviously not going very well. The guy they arrested, Stephen Griswold is his name, is adamant that he didn't do it, and he immediately tries to pull it on Shale's wife,
Yeah.
Serena. We see Maddie watching Serena on TV drinking wine out of a mug, and basically breaks up with her boyfriend while trying to call someone on the phone as well.
Yeah.
She's trying to break into Serena's voicemail,
Yeah.
which back then wasn't such a sore topic, but there's been some court cases in the intervening time that suggest otherwise. Maddie goes to one of Adam Klaus's magic shows after hearing that Francesca's going to be there. And what trick do we see here? Do you remember?
Is that the mummy one?
Yeah, so it's a kind of a mix. It's a sarcophagus, but it's also an Iron Maiden.
Yeah, the Iron Maiden was sarcophagus, and then so he puts the female performer in there, and then somehow they swap places where she's in his costume and he's the mummy.
Yes.
How would that work?
Jonathan Creek, he's a genius.
No, but no sleight of hand or like positioning under the stage would work, because Anthony had like his character was still standing still. He was still standing there.
He does go behind the thing, behind the sarcophagus, and then back again, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong, it's probably impossible, but
yeah, it looked cool.
it looked cool, and yeah, it works.
Have you ever been to a magic show though?
No, and I'll tell you this, my wife Katie hates magic.
Really?
She either thinks it's too easy to guess, or it's hard to guess and it annoys her.
I went to Magic Goes Wrong last year,
Oh yeah?
which is like, it's actual magic tricks, but the whole joke is they're fucking up along the way
Oh
to
yeah.
get to it. So they still do the trick.
To get to like a grand finale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they still do the
Okay.
trick, but they fuck up along the way, and it's great. When May got pulled on stage and he thought he killed the man.
Yeah, magicians can be bastards. Adam is then backstage during the break and basically orders Francesca, which is weird.
Well, he says he likes to lay beside her in a warm bath of glue.
Oh, he's such a creep. And he actually gets creepier when he's played by Stephen Milligan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure. Jonathan and Maddie meet each other and he knocks her sausage. Or knocks his sausage off his fork at her.
Yeah.
It's like, there's some metaphors here going on already. This is where we find out some of Maddie's journalistic skills. Because she pretends to know Francesca, pretends that they've been to a party together, and that she's a trauma and bereavement counsellor. And she just kind of wangled her way into like the group of people that Francesca's with to get info, obviously.
Yeah. And it worked.
It does work, yeah. She kind of she's almost like a confidence trickster.
Yeah.
It's quite shady that she's got this skill set. I mean, I suppose journalists do some shady shit.
I mean, you kind of have to in order to convince people to basically tell you the truth.
I'm going to let you describe the next magic trick because I think it's an ode to one of your favourite films.
Yes, it is. So first off, it starts with Adam calling out Francesca for audience participation.
Yes.
And he asks her to go behind the curtain and get changed.
No, but what is the curtain?
The curtain is a shower curtain. But obviously it's not Francesca, it's just a silhouette because Francesca's been brought down a slide onto the stage. And that's where she meets Jonathan. He takes her upstairs. And while that's happening, Adam then puts on the costume of Norman Bates as the mother to do a psycho reference and pretend to kill Francesca, who is quote-unquote behind the curtain. And then it's revealed that Francesca's up in the rafters or whatever.
Yeah, and Jonathan's like holding her back.
Yeah.
And I think this is where Francesca says about, she realises that it's Jonathan who creates the tricks. He must have told her in their kind of time between the stage and the back.
I think she just immediately realised it because she asked him, "Oh, you did this?"
What's quite clever is the way they pull the curtain back and reveal that it's not Francesca. It's not even a person there.
Yeah.
It was made with some kind of probably a projector and a silhouette, I guess. Quite a clever little trick. After we kind of cut away, we get Adam telling Jonathan to deliver a gift to Francesca, and he says, "I change my socks less frequently than you change your sleeping partners," which feels like a very 90s thing to say. It does make Jonathan seem really frigid's not the right word, but what am I trying to say?
No, frigid. I mean, he doesn't really get.
He seems a bit asexual, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they're trying to like. They're just trying to say that he's like so intelligent that he kind of bypasses the need for.
Well, it's kind of like Sherlock in a weird way.
Yeah, kind of. Sherlock doesn't give in to those baser instincts.
Yeah.
He is definitely. It does feel like, and I love Jonathan Creek. This isn't a slant. It does feel like they couldn't get permission to do a Sherlock series,
Yeah.
and they just created a whole new character. Not that I'm complaining, because this new character, I think he kind of paves the way for the couple of rehashes of Sherlock that are set in the modern day.
Yeah.
For Benedict Cumberbatch, BBC Sherlock, and Johnny Lee Miller playing Sherlock in New York with Lucy Liu as Watson in Elementary.
That one.
It's very good. Elementary's underrated, and I enjoy it. It's an American 20 plus episodes of series. It's not all gold, but a lot of it's very good.
Okay.
Yeah. So Maddie is at Francesca's house and kind of interviews her.
Yeah.
But still pretending to be a counsellor, which is getting on the point of being very amoral, I think.
Yeah.
Maddie posits that Francesca doesn't know if the assailant was a man or a woman because they were wearing a glove. Triple H, I'm sure it's Triple H.
There's a line that she says there, that Francesca says, that just made me laugh.
Go on.
The moment I took off my clothes, I could tell he felt attracted to me.
I think they're trying to make her come across as simple there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Which is a stereotype long gone, thankfully. I think that like all models
All blonde as well.
Specifically, I suppose, yeah. But I think any model back in the day would have been played off this way. But thankfully, I don't think that's the given stereotype anymore. Jonathan shows up with the present for Francesca, and it's not just me. This is a weird gift to someone you just met, right?
Oh yeah.
It's a tight little black dress.
Yeah.
And she's happy with this. That's weird.
That is really weird.
So bizarre. Francesca is then the one who tells Maddie that Jonathan designs all the tricks. But as they leave, Jonathan tells Maddie that he knows that she's a journalist because he finds her dictaphone.
Yeah, he spotted it immediately.
Yes, because like Sherlock, he takes in everything when he comes in the room. Jonathan asks straight away if Maddie wants to sleep with him because he just wants to get the question out of the way because he says it's all awkward. Sweet. Weirdly, he kind of this version of Jonathan Creek isn't kind of how the final character ends up. He's a bit cooler. Okay. Don't get me wrong, he's still a big old geek. Yeah. But he loses that naivety. Yeah. Like still a bit naive with some things, but mostly he loses the naivety, which is nice. I don't think they do it. They kind of do it quite nicely in that it's slowly over time he gets a bit cooler, as in he gets older and less kind of naive. Yeah. So he learns, especially by being around crime. Not to spoil anything, he constantly is now solving crimes after this. I suppose that's probably what gets him to be less naive.
Yeah, gets opened up to the world.
Exactly, yeah. Maddie and Jonathan go for lunch, and like you said, Maddie eats raw onions.
And he can't stand it.
No.
Gives him indigestion.
Yeah, I mean, raw onions can give you indigestion, but watching someone eat raw onions, that's a weird one. Jonathan does a magic trick at Maddie's request, and it's almost smooth. It's quite flirty.
Yeah.
And the way he like holds her hand and tells her to like concentrate hard.
Yeah.
There's a flirty element to that already. It's like, okay, he may be naive, but he somehow has more game than half of the people I know. The trick's quite impressive until he tells you how it's done.
Which is hilarious.
Go on, how does he do it?
So he has to concentrate really hard on... So he puts a napkin in her hand, says concentrate really hard on a place.
Yeah.
She concentrates on Constantinople. He takes it, throws the napkin. Then, as that happens, the waiter just brings like a tray of food. Only it's a tray of food. It's the napkin with Constantinople on there.
Yeah.
How he did it was, the napkin he threw away had nothing on it. He just had the waiter pay attention, hear what the name of the place she said out loud, quickly wrote it down and put it on the paper.
Yeah. Pretty simple actually, and the waiter gives him a cheeky little smile. Yeah. This is his restaurant that he takes girls to do that trick to. I'm telling you, like that's why it gets so intense and so flirty. This is the restaurant he takes girls to, and that guy's his wingman. I'm telling you. Jonathan agrees to help Maddie because she tries to coerce him into helping with his murder investigation because she wants to know how Serena could have left her office with no one knowing.
Yeah.
Killed her husband and got back, and who would you hire? Someone who creates magic tricks, stuff like that. There's a logic behind it. He has a logical brain. So they pose as a journalist. Well, she is a journalist, but they have him pose as camera crew.
Yeah, well, steady cam.
For, what is it they call it? They call it Mad Cow Productions. Which I was like, is that a play-off on Baby Cow? Who, like, Rob Brydon's got mostly sitcom production company that he's got. Really good line here. Maddie asks Jonathan how the camera feels, and he says, like I've been artificially inseminated with a supermarket trolley, which is a very good line. She says it's called a Steadicam, it's supposed to eliminate jerks, and then he says, so is Clint Eastwood, but I don't have him strapped to my chest, which is another good line. Serena then shows something that is a problem with why modern society is as bad as it is. They airbrush these models, and they show her how it's done. It's still such a problem. So many young people, and it's more young women, but it's young people in general. I think these kind of idealised people are real, and they're not. They're airbrushed and edited and pulled.
Just photoshops.
Yeah, and Serena shows them how that works, because she thinks it's an interview. Jonathan uses the cover to film the entire office, so he can get the layout of the room. It's quite clever, I suppose. Yeah, it's clever. He pretends he's got to go kind of film establishing shots.
Yeah.
Texture shots? Yeah. Like little things that you cut in to kind of break away. He then questions the PA as he does it, which is nice. Nice little. He's off on his little side mission, and he finds out the same that the police found out, that Serena never left, and that she couldn't have left because the PA never even went to the toilet before the police came. Go back to Maddie's car, and she's got 1 million parking tickets. Oh, no. I thought she was going to do a Del Boy. So in Only Fools and Horses, Del Boy's got a plastic bag that they used to put over parking meters when they were broken. Yeah. So he's just stolen one of those, and he puts it over every meter he parks in front of. Smart. So I thought what she had done is put a parking ticket, like an empty parking ticket, on her car to stop getting another one. But no, she's just got 1 million of them. Yeah. No, I thought she was being cleverer than that. And Jonathan thinks he's cracked it. Now this is where we get the break.
First we get the break?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's where part one, if you're watching via BritBox, stops.
Makes sense.
And we pick up with part 2. We do get previously on.
If you want previously on, just listen to everything.
Yeah. You just need us. Yeah. Start again.
Yeah.
It'll help double our listens. If everyone starts again one more time. The wrestler, we find out the reason the episode is called The Wrestler's Tomb, because I think this is where we get the first shot of the house name. The house is called The Wrestler's Tomb.
Yeah.
Which is a weird name for a house, but fair enough. The flashback reveals something that becomes prominent in a minute, which is that the model who called earlier to get her photos back, his surname is Yates, which is something we need to know going forward, but it's kind of spoiled by the episode break.
Oh, because in my one, he was like, it's either Bates or Yates. So he says, if it's Bates, if it's Yates, then
she could have done it. If it's Bates, it's impossible. So that comes up in a second just after this, because he builds their model. It's then. But the previously on kind of spoils it and says that it's definitely Yates. Because I think you wouldn't be paying much attention first time round when she answers the phone. But it kind of highlights it because it's a 10-second clip on the previously on. Maddie visits Jonathan at his home. What is his home?
It's a windmill.
He lives in a windmill, because of course he does. Been in his family for 5 generations. Jonathan posits that Maddie is single, but she doesn't refute that because she was eating raw onion. This is where I wrote actually the note about Sherlock, because that's the kind of thing he does. Like, deducts from smaller things, bigger things. Which is like, I don't know if you've watched Benedict Cumberbatch, right? When he posits that Watson's phone is not only second hand, but also from someone who used to be a drinker, because the phone port is all scratched up. I was like, yeah, okay. Like all those deductions. Jonathan's place is meticulously organised, as you would think. It's where we find out why he likes magic. He just likes the ingenuity behind it, which is obviously going to help in his investigating. It says his parents emigrated, and there's a line here that I was like, oh no, which is you know the way your parents look at you like you've just announced your engagement to a fruit bat. It's like, no, stay away from bats, we can't be locked down for 3 years again. Jonathan has made a ridiculously amazing model of Serena's office.
It's so detailed.
And he plays out the situation, and what does the situation show us, Tim?
As Serena was about to go to the office, the phone went off.
Yes.
So he posits that Serena quickly hid behind the sofa, then creeped round to the other one and had a PA system set up in the back
of the sofa, yeah.
That would allow for her to call the PA in. PA goes for Davina Yates, which would block her view of the office, which would allow her to escape.
Yeah. And what upsets Maddie about this? Jonathan tells her it just didn't happen. Like, it's possible, but it didn't happen.
Because my immediate response was, there'd be CCTV footage of her leaving.
It's 1997.
CCTV in 97?
Yeah, but I don't think you'd have it all throughout the inside of a building at that point.
I think in like the reception, like the CEO of like the main person, you would.
Yeah, but I mean, by that point, she's left her main office. She could go for a fire escape.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a million reasons why, especially back then. Now you're right. There's no way an office building like that doesn't have CCTV in every hallway. You're 100% right.
Multiple cameras in one room.
But yeah, you have to take yourself back to 97. Like,
I wasn't even alive.
I was about to say, yeah, it's like you're negative, like 10 years older than whatever you are. Jonathan says this isn't what happened. It's a way it could have happened, but that it can't have happened that way. But they're missing something obvious. He can't quite. It's something tangible that he can't quite find.
Yeah.
And what does Maddie decide to do while they're thinking?
She uses the levitating chair.
Yeah, so in Magic, I don't know if anyone's seen it, you can get like a board strapped to a chair that looks like you're floating, like using one half of the chair. So they put you on 2 chairs, so it look like you're balancing on the chairs, then pull one away, and
You see a lot of street performers using them.
Yeah, and you see like around Covent Garden performers using all sorts of things that make them float.
Yeah, dressed as like Darth Vader or Yoda or whatever.
Yeah, the one I remember is there's a guy and it looks like he's got a cane, a long cane, and then he's floating. But obviously the cane goes up and it's got a supported chair and it goes up the sleeve and stuff.
That's what pretty much all of them use now.
They deduct that there must have been someone else in the room when Shale was killed, because the prints obviously don't match anyone on the gun, and they found the gun. Jonathan and Maddie are now going to work together, and he looks like he's going to be apprehensive, but she's like, I've whet your appetite. And her wording is weird. The sexual tension basically never stops between them. And then Jonathan's he's just a sassy nerd, isn't he?
Yeah.
He says, like, nothing's been wet, I think is what he says. I can't remember now. I should have written down the note for that.
Yeah, that's something I didn't write down either.
So Maddie blags her way into Shale's house
Yeah.
through Katrina, saying that they've got an interview with Serena. They've already had their interview. Sneaky. And she investigates the bedroom while Jonathan distracts Katrina. Katrina's obviously upset because of the whole situation. She found the dead body.
Yeah.
And Jonathan comforts her, and who sees them?
Katrina's husband.
And what is he?
He intimidates, well, basically bullies Jonathan by getting the vacuum cleaner, just smearing it, turns on, smears it across Jonathan's face.
Sucking his cheeks,
Yes.
yeah. She even says he gets very jealous. I'm like, why are you why do anyone who is with someone who gets jealous?
Yeah.
That person's an arsehole. They're an insecure arsehole. Okay, just gonna put that out there. Maddie finds a tiny spot of blood on the rug that hasn't been moved,
Yeah.
and a rubber band. So these are two clues that either the police didn't think were clues or missed the blood. I doubt they would have missed the blood, but I suppose the rug technically belongs to Serena. She just hasn't had it cleaned.
Yeah.
The cleaner's, this is where the cleaner's husband comes along, and Alan stands really still for he's having his face sucked by a Hoover. He does a very good job there.
It's impressive.
Maddie and Jonathan leave as Serena returns, and they encapsulate your nickname. Hey, you there in the bushes. They hide in the bushes, Tim. That was a Simpsons reference for those people who aren't as nerdy as me and Tim. This is where there's a little note here. The cleaner shows Jonathan some little like Picasso originals that are done on napkins and stuff that are on the table, and it turns out that one of the tissues that he gave Katrina to wipe her nose was one of the Picasso originals.
Oh, no.
So that thing was probably worth 50 grand
Yeah.
just because it's on a napkin. Yeah, gone. They discuss the case in the car, and Jonathan thinks he's missed something, and what he realises is there was a HMRC letter left
Yes.
that was left unread.
Yes.
And obviously, who leaves a HMRC letter unread? They could either be giving you money or asking for more of it.
Exactly, so you want to open that letter as soon as you can.
We have a few American listeners, so HMRC is the British version of the Inland Revenue. It's her or his now, His Majesty's Revenue and Customs.
Yes.
So they're the ones who take all your tax money over here.
Bastard.
Those bastards. And spend it on unnecessary things, but let's not get into our super left-leaning politics right now.
Did you enjoy the coronation, Bobby?
I did not. What a waste of fucking money. Stupid. There's people hungry, and we're spending that much money on a stupid coronation. Dumb.
I do.
You saw my Instagram post, didn't you? So we cut to Francesca's place, and Adam and her are on a date.
And John's there too.
And he makes Jonathan come along as some kind of weird. I think he gets off on just having someone watch. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
We find out that Adam is now replacing his assistant with Francesca, and they posit why, but the reason why is because he was also sleeping with his assistant,
Yeah.
so he can't, sleep with Francesca, which is what he wants to do. They find out that she's keeping one of Hedley Shale's paintings of her in the basement.
Yeah.
Basements also aren't very common in the UK, especially in London, I don't think, because there's the sewage pipes in that aren't that much lower. But I don't know. She's got a basement, whatever. And we go down to the basement and find out that the painting has a load of bullet holes in it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Francesca screams out, cries, and the scene cuts. And Jonathan is inspecting the elastic band, kind of thinking that it may be more of a clue than it is. He then kind of has what we assume must be some kind of eureka moment, I guess. And as he goes to tell Maddie, he sees that she actually does have a boyfriend.
Yeah. I actually recognise where Maddie lives.
Whereabouts is it?
So it's near, I think it's Devonshire Gardens, near the old BBC studio in Midvale.
That would make sense.
The Warwick Avenue.
So, on the IMDb, I did take this down because I didn't think it would be important, but on the IMDb, it says where she lives from episode 2, and it tells you where it is, but it's a different place, I think, because this is the pilot.
Oh, okay. The only reason I recognise that's where one of my exes lives.
Oh no, so you did a Jonathan, did you? You pulled up outside.
I was like, oh no, I recognise that.
Oh dear.
I have to take a 10-minute break from this episode. Like, calm down.
Calm down, oh no. I swear half the time we either go into something your ex did to you, or you thirsting on someone at the minute.
This is a different episode, that's the thing. This was the most recent ex.
Oh god, let's not talk about them. Let's not give them the credit or the airtime, should I say? Maddie goes to Shell's exhibit and finds Katrina crying in the gallery. Maddie notices some of the paintings of Serena, obviously.
Katrina.
Of Katrina, and posits then what was actually happening.
Yes.
Which was that the person Shell was sleeping with was actually Katrina. And Katrina says she didn't know that he was also sleeping with Francesca. And when asked why the police she didn't come forward to the police with something like this, she says, because her husband would beat her. I get her husband leaving her.
Yes.
But and we're going to use the word for the second time in 3 episodes. What a cunt.
Yeah, what a cunt.
What a cunt. She should have left him a long time ago.
Yeah.
But not always
Also,
that
don't
easy.
cheat.
Yeah, don't cheat either. I mean, with someone as abusive and horrible as her husband, I get it.
Yeah.
You actually want to find, affection somewhere, maybe?
Yeah.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? If anyone who's listening to this has ever hit their partner, stop listening and we don't want you.
Let's fuck off.
Just get the fuck out of here. No excuses. Maddie rings Jonathan to tell him everything. And Jonathan asks why Maddie lied. And she says, I didn't lie, you deduced wrong.
Basically having a hissy fit.
Yeah, and then she goes into a big one but accidentally disconnects her phone.
Yeah.
All the while her boyfriend is taking pillows off the bed to go sleep in either the spare room or the sofa, I guess.
Yeah.
This is where Jonathan has his eureka moment.
He turns off the TV on the channel with his foot on the remote.
Yes. Jonathan goes to work. Jonathan is at work and we hear Francesca screaming and they go running and the security guard who Adam has left on her door has gone away.
Yeah.
And it turns out she's screaming because she's gained 3 pounds.
Yes, it's such a violent scream.
Because she's a vapid idiot. Serena calls and she wants to buy Francesca's story.
Yes.
And Serena is looking at Maddie's book quite menacingly, obviously now having figured out who she is. So Jonathan's obviously, at this point, somehow told Maddie about it, or she's going to tell Maddie about it. Maddie comes to the theatre so they can make up, and Jonathan tells her he's figured out how Shale was killed. This is where we find out someone's stolen Francesca's scales that she was screaming about while having gained 3 pounds. Francesca asks how someone could have got through a locked door, and Adam Klaus, who is the magician, doesn't know, because obviously he's not the one who creates the tricks. That's Jonathan. They do the Iron Maiden trick on stage with Francesca this time.
Yeah.
This time there's a new little effect, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a bit of blood.
Yeah, blood comes streaming out the back and they spin the sarcophagus so people can see it. Serena looks very happy at this point because she's come to see the show.
Yeah.
The body flops out but then kind of stands up, and it turns out it's Adam, not Francesca.
It's just a little trick for the audience.
It's an extra little nuance thing that presumably Jonathan came up with.
Yeah.
To give it a bit more theatre.
Well, probably Adam.
Oh, actually, theatre's probably more Adam's side.
Yeah, I think Adam requested it.
Jonathan and Maddie confirm with each other that it's all set, and they go to confront Serena and Francesca. Serena is...
drinking champagne together because they're toasting cylinder rights.
Maddie tells Serena and Francesca that she dropped off some new evidence and that the murder charge against the guy who hired her, has been dropped. Jonathan explains how the whole plot was done. Jonathan and Maddie now reveal who it was who killed Headley Shao. And I bleeped it out at the beginning, but Tim, you were right. Go on, how did it happen?
So, this person, whoever they were, she first tied her hands up with tape.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a her. And then she covers her eyes up but made 2 tiny little peepholes so she could see out the blindfold. Don't know who could have been. And then, as Hadley walked into the room, she used her feet to fire the gun. Her French feet. Her blonde French feet. It's Francesca.
Francesca is the one who killed Headley. And it's all because he rejected her advances.
Yeah, she wasn't his type.
No. He liked, I don't know, like girl next door types, regular girls. And she didn't like that. And this is where Maddie reveals that it's Katrina who was actually having the affair. She's still acting innocent at this point. And she's still like, that's ridiculous. How could I have tied myself up? How could I have learned to shoot with my feet? And then Jonathan points out that she had some practice.
Yeah, the painting.
On the painting in her own house.
Yeah.
And the thing that's actually incriminated her is that he took her footprints, toe prints, off of the scale, and they match the gun. This is where the police come in, and Francesca gets arrested.
And that's when Adam walks in.
Sorry?
That's when Adam walks in with champagne.
That's when Adam walks in to celebrate, yeah. And it's also when Francesca says she'll give Serena the story, the story that is true, but for double the price.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose. Let's wait for you when you come out in 20 years or whatever it'll be.
Exactly.
Maddie takes Jonathan back to his hotel, and they keep saying no to each other, but they end up going both into the hotel room to have coffee. The coffee doesn't show up. I'll say this, I don't know if this is the same in the 90s, but most hotel rooms have coffee machines in them now.
Yeah, and just a kettle in there.
Or a kettle, yeah. Maddie leaves. Shortly after, there's like a quick knock at the door, and Jonathan just looks startled. I'll say this, it's just the coffee.
Okay, so
it cuts. Up. Yes. We don't, it's never explicitly stated. There's a slight spoiler. If you don't want a spoiler, if you're going to watch the rest of the series, really fast forward 15, 20 seconds. They do sleep together eventually, but in like series 2, and it's made clear that that is the first time that they do sleep together.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's series 2, it might be 3. But yeah, they do eventually.
Oh, I just took it as she's knocking on the door because there's been another murder.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
That's how I took it.
Well, you'd think that, but the start of episode 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What did you think of The Restless Tomb?
I think it was a good episode. I think it's a good introduction to Jonathan and Maddie and what could have been Adam.
Yes.
I think, because what's their daughter's name in Bored to Death?
Ted Danson?
Ted Danson. Was it George?
George, yes.
Yeah. He gives me George vibes.
He does, yeah. I see what you mean. He's like the pre-George.
Yeah. Like, he gives me the vibe of being someone who is like very kooky and everything, but just finds his way to, like, into the murder, into the crimes, into the investigation.
Are you saying that George is the final evolution of Adam Klaus?
Yes. Well, you know, the Magic made a lot of money.
Yes.
And then,
he went off to be a socialite in New York.
Exactly. And you know, the Magic team probably has a lot of drugs in it, so...
Yes, yeah.
I don't... It's actually making too much sense.
I don't know if it quite lines up. Because I feel like if your friend then was like, I want to be a private eye, it's like, I know someone who's did that. Let me get your number so he can give you a few tips.
Well, it's probably so high he forgot.
Oh, that's true, yeah. George is often high.
there was never episodes where he wasn't.
No.
I really enjoyed it. My only issue is I think this was from the fact of it being both episodes smushed together.
Yes.
The hour and a half runtime really dragged. You could feel they had to like fill out a lot of space.
Which is weird because I'm almost certain this is a pilot.
Yeah.
You'd think for a pilot of this you'd just do an hour.
Yeah.
I do know what you mean. There are certain bits of it that like could have been condensed for sure. I mean, even as is, you could do a director's cut where you cut out 20 minutes. Well, it wouldn't be a director's cut. You know what I mean? You could do an edit where you cut out 20 minutes. Absolutely. And the story would still make absolute sense.
Yeah.
Character-wise, what do you think of Jonathan?
I like him. I find he's a very interesting character. He's not... Because there's Sherlock elements, but he's not as pompous as Sherlock.
No.
He's better than everyone. It's not like he doesn't like people, he just gets annoyed by people. So.
He's more likeable off the bat.
Yeah.
And I actually don't think he necessarily doesn't like people. I think because of his naivety, he doesn't necessarily understand people all the time. And that kind of is the thing that frustrates him.
But it's not like played up with like characters like Sheldon and Big Bang Theory or Sherlock, where he's like very almost like treated like an alien.
Yeah,
he's just treated like a kooky person.
He is, yeah, he is. He's just an oddball, in a fun way. I love Jonathan. I love the character of Jonathan. I really like the characterization. I do like I said, I don't know if you'll ever watch the rest of it, but how he grows as well as like a character. He kind of just becomes more of an adult essentially. Carries himself in a bit of a different way. We're going to go on to episode 2/3 because this is confusing, called Jack in the Box. How does it start?
With a comedic banana ad.
It does, yes. Kind of Charlie Chaplin style slapstick comedy ad. Did you recognise who's the first character in it?
I don't recognise the actor, but the character Jack.
Jack. So I think we've had this discussion. He is of Vicar of Dibley fame. You've not watched Vicar of Dibley, have you?
No.
He plays Frank Pickles in the Vicar of Dibley, who is quite a quiet character and doesn't have too many of the big lines, but he has one amazing moment in Vicar of Dibley, which I think we might cover, so I'm not going to tell you about it.
Fair enough.
Jack, it kind of cuts away and we find out Jack and director or editor are watching, I think it's the director, are watching a cut of the advert, and Jack is very unhappy with it.
He uses the term PC.
He does. He says he wants some non-PC jokes in it because he thinks PC's gone mad because he's old.
So this debate's never going to end, is it?
I mean, I think in '97 we all probably thought it was near an end, and it just wasn't. I mean, I was 9 years old. I don't really remember hearing about it, but
I think it's just every generation they look back at their thing and goes, oh, yeah, they're like that. I grew up with that, so why can't this generation grow up with that?
yeah, it's.
I mean,
What bothers? What? Yeah, I mean that's the worst case scenario, though. I think.
I mean, your generation had Little Britain,
Yeah. Little Britain came out when I was in my early teens.
and then when I was entering my teens, we had to Come Fly With Me. Same people. Yeah. And I mean, even weirdly, I had this discussion today with a co-worker. Only Fools and Horses has aged well about 95%, and there's 5%, maybe it's probably less than 5% of the jokes just need to be scrapped. Yeah. Like, they're silly little jokes most of the time. Nowhere near as offensive as that 40 Towers one. I feel like the jokes that are offensive have been eliminated from UK Gold to TV anyway.
Yeah, I mean, even if you go look into the cuts, though, I'm a big Only Fools and Horses fan. I think it's kind of one of those shows that formulated what Brits find funny.
Yeah.
I think it really had a big effect, like a bigger effect on British comedy than most sitcoms ever had. And having looked into the kind of what is deleted, and you can find anything that's been deleted from it, you can find. Because it's that eponymous in the UK. You can find this stuff. Nothing is that. Most of it's just cut for time.
Yeah.
Most of the cuts, if you go look into the Wikipedia, it tells you all the cuts. It's just for time, most of it.
Makes sense.
Don't get me wrong, there are a couple of jokes that are cut for thingy, but even then, they're nowhere near as offensive as that 40 Towers one. Don't get me wrong, they are offensive. But then,
what I was talking about in 40 Towers, listen to the episodes. It's bad.
Episode 13, a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we discuss a scene that was dropped from 40 Towers that should have been dropped, and maybe I wish I hadn't found it.
Yeah, because it's bad.
It's very bad. This is where we see, after Jack's gotten angry, he's trying to pour himself a drink, and his hand can't stay steady, and he kind of gets it all over the counter. And his wife pulls up, and we find out from the wife that Jack's first wife was murdered, and the guy who did it, Mr. Rokesmith, I can't remember his first name, Alan Rokesmith, has been released because Maddie has found how it couldn't have been him.
Yeah.
We go to Rokesmith being reunited with his mum after saying he was unjustly locked up for 10 years.
Yeah. I would say that was like a really heartwarming scene.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you would do if you were wrongly in prison for 10 years and your mum was still alive when you got out. I mean, that's going to be a moment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Jack was in LA when his first wife gets murdered. Sorry, so yeah, we find out Jack's current wife, I can't remember her name now, is in the car with Jack's driver, and they talk about how the first wife was murdered and how Jack was in LA and he blames himself for not being home.
Yeah.
But as they return, they find that Jack is missing.
Yes, he is no longer in the house. They walk down to he has a nuclear bunker.
Yeah, an air raid shelter of some sort. Yeah.
And as they go in, well, they call the police and they've seen that the bunker is locked from the inside, so they have to they just have to burn the door.
Think Darth Vader or Kylo Ren cutting through a door with their lightsaber. That's what they got to do, but with a blowtorch.
They have to blowtorch the door open. And where they find that Jack is dead. And it's apparent suicide, but his wife doesn't believe it because he has arthritis.
So how did he apparently kill himself?
Exactly.
No, I'm asking you. How did he?
Well, apparently he shot himself. But,
yeah, and the gun is in his hand, right?
Yeah, but he can't fire a gun. He has arthritis.
He couldn't even pour a drink. So yeah, like pulling a gun trigger, probably not, according to his wife anyway. Jonathan is home playing with a box of trick matches, which is one of those ones I definitely had as a kid that you could buy for like £2.
Yeah.
We find out that Adam's tour is being cancelled because he's got an inner ear infection, and he fell into the orchestra pit, which is beautiful.
No more Anthony Head crying emoji.
Yeah, I'm sorry, there's no more Anthony Head at all.
Well, no, there's a poster of him in the episode.
Yeah, that's true. I think they were hoping he was going to be able to do that and then come back and do... He hoping he was going to be able to go do Buffy and then come back and do Jonathan Creek.
That schedule.
Well, I suppose like 2 TV projects in a year isn't too bad for an actor.
Consider it's an American.
Oh yeah, Buffy isn't full 24 episodes though.
Is it
They're normally 13 to 16 in that window, I think.
True, but then...
Yeah. But have you watched Buffy?
No, I haven't.
Add it to the list!
Okay, well, I'll be honest, I watched the first episode. I could not get into it.
I'll get you into Buffy.
And I don't want to spoil anything that Josh Whedon made.
Fair. Yeah. Jonathan goes to see Maddie after being called to come to her house and finds out that Maddie's got a clamp on her car, and he picks the lock just to challenge himself to see if he can do it. And he does it in how long?
42 seconds.
It's not bad.
Yeah,
It's
it's
pretty
actually
good.
impressive.
Turns out,
It's nice.
Maddie owns the clamp, and she's bought it off of some dodgy bloke,
Yeah.
and then she puts it on and off herself to stop herself getting parking tickets.
She has a fake park ticket on it, which was basically...
What I thought
Yeah.
she was doing in the first one.
And then she actually did it.
Well, maybe she had the idea after having all those actual parking tickets.
No, what she did, she reached into the future into this episode of the podcast and stole your idea.
She went back and watched an old Only Fools and Horses. She says it's basically a ticket to park anywhere in London, which is true, probably. Yeah. Jonathan and Maddie clearly haven't spoke in a while, and you could tell this is where it highlights that it was a pilot, because they probably recorded it 2 years before or so.
Yeah.
Say 18 months maybe, because they do look visibly slightly different.
Yeah.
Like slightly older. Maddie tricks Jonathan into saying they're like hanging out, go to the coast maybe, and it turns out obviously she knows about Jack's murder and she's just taking him along, and he has no idea, and he gets really upset when she tells him.
She asks her to stop the car, and he just gets down in the middle of nowhere, and he just realises, yes, wasn't a good idea. So he just cuts him back immediately in the car.
Maddie sticks up for Alan Rokesmith that he's now being blamed for Jack's murder or apparent suicide, and says that he's innocent and that he was innocent before, and explains how they found out he was innocent. He was going to visit a prostitute, and that she ran after they found the body, and eventually, after years, she came forward to say that, okay, this is what happened, he didn't do it, we found the body.
Yeah.
Which is what gets him out. Maddie tells Jonathan, so Jonathan asks, we can't just show up, and she tells him, I've already called. She poses as Jonathan's secretary, explains Jonathan's job, and says he might be able to figure out how someone got in there, and he's so annoyed. This is where we find out, so they get to Jack's house, and we find out something super creepy about Jack.
Proposed to a 7-year-old.
Who was ended up being his first wife, yeah. And
but the way Nick was saying, don't worry, he waited until she was 18. It's like,
so it says he went to America for 15 years and came back. So he waited till she was 22. Still fucking gross.
Yeah, it still doesn't make it better.
And the current wife, Rachel, is it, explains that the Jack and his wife were like the ideal couple, his first wife, and that there was actually death threats before she was murdered. So there's definitely a murder out there, whether it was Rokesmith or not. She still believes it was Rokesmith, and he's upset that he was let out. Jonathan goes down to the bomb shelter with the driver, and he actually does that very Sherlock thing of like poking around everything. He looks at the fixtures, looks in the corners, like runs his fingers along the concrete. The driver explains that the shelter wasn't finished because the Cold War stopped.
Yeah.
So Jack just never finished it, which makes sense. Jonathan finds a 100-watt light bulb in a 40-watt box, and he thinks that might be a clue, but he doesn't know why. Maddie and Jonathan head back to the car, and Jonathan tells Jack's wife that room is impenetrable.
Well, there's also one thing that catches his eye.
What was that?
The toilet,
The pipe.
the pipe, how close it is to the wall, that catches his eye. He doesn't understand why.
Yeah. He's got that kind of intuition, like a detective's intuition. Jonathan isn't convinced about the suicide, though, so he says it was impenetrable, but it also couldn't have been suicide, as Jack wouldn't have been able to fire the gun. And this is where Maddie goes to the advert's director, and he shows her just how bad Jack's arthritis was, because he couldn't even peel a banana. He had to have a set of hands to open it for him. We cut to Rokesmith's new home where he's living on the coast, and what happens to him?
Well, his sister comes into the flat, to the place to look for him, and then the police come in straight after, and they tell him that his boat that he was sailing on has been destroyed, and he's lost at sea.
And yes, there's a diary that goes right up to the day he went out on the boat.
He went out.
Maddie then visits Rokesmith's sister, She hands Maddie letters from a confectionery company, which is weird because it's an order for fudge, and he hated fudge.
Yes.
So Maddie's like, well, weird, okay, but I'll take them. Maddie calls Jonathan to kind of chat over the case and obviously chat with someone as smart as Jonathan to help break it down. So they're heading back down to the coast to see if they can figure out the case. And Maddie thinks Jack may have had some kind of device to help him pull the gun, and then somehow that launched down the pipe, like it had it on elastic.
Yeah.
And he said, what's the point? He could have just done it in the sitting room, which is very true. Maddie shows Jonathan the letters, and Jonathan is convinced Jack was murdered, but doesn't know how.
And then there's a random rainstorm.
Yes.
Literally, like, it's random because it was sunny.
And also, well, it's just... Have you been to the British seaside, Tim?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. It could be sunny 1 minute and literally pissing down 3 minutes later.
Yes, you can. I keep forgetting we're in a shit country.
Yeah, we do. Weather-wise, we definitely do. And politics-wise, we definitely do. Jonathan is fixated on the light bulb and what's wrong with the toilet, but he can't quite piece them together yet.
Yeah.
Jonathan figures out what the fudge letters are for. What are they for, Tim?
So there are hidden messages behind the stamps.
Yes.
One's basically saying, don't worry, we're all, basically saying we'll sort it out. Basically realising...
They're quite heavily cryptic, aren't they?
Heavily cryptic, but there's an indication that maybe there's more to meets the eye with Alan being in prison.
Yeah. Maddie tentatively says goodnight, but she obviously doesn't really want to leave. She's kind of a bit flirty and a bit hesitant. Jonathan's just oblivious. He's clearly thinking about the case. She leaves. We cut to immediately the next morning, and what happens?
There's a watermelon with a knife in it next to Jonathan's head.
Yeah.
With a note underneath it that says, back off.
It's such a British version of like the horse head in the bed, isn't it? Here's a watermelon.
Just imagine this scream.
Did you notice the little joke they put in there?
No.
Though it's half hidden. The BA in back off are hidden. So for a split second, it looks like fuck off. Someone's obviously worried they're getting a bit close. Jonathan wants to run. He wants to leave. And Maddie says, what kind of spineless cretin are you? And he says, just the average kind, everyday cretin.
Then he looks at the toilet down the corridor and he keeps flashing back and forth between him and the toilet and then the wall.
Yeah, and this is where he's kind of having another one of those eureka moments, and they head back to the shelter so that Jonathan can do an experiment. They question the first wife's death again because they believe it was Jack because of the notes to Rokesmith who had her killed. And well, they don't know. They don't say Rokesmith yet. They say Jack has paid someone to kill her, and that person has now come back to kill him for whatever reason, maybe payment.
Yeah.
But then we do find out it was Rokesmith, who didn't know about Jack's arthritis.
No.
So that's why he tried to frame it the way he did. And the driver tells Jonathan and Maddie that they're right about Jack paying for her to be murdered. It was a dark day in his life. Turns out his wife was cheating and spending his money, and a divorce would have ruined him.
Yeah.
Even financially and publicly. And it was the driver who put the melon in Jonathan's room because he wanted to not ruin Jack's reputation, essentially. So, how was it done, Tim?
Very cleverly, actually, I have to say.
It's not bad, is it?
It's actually very well done. So, how it's done is, first off, Alan wrote way in advance in his diary up until April 10th.
Couple of weeks, or a week or so, yeah.
So what he did was he snuck into that bunker. Don't know how he got the key, but he snuck in there. And he basically took down the wall and then dragged down Jack, killed him, and then put up another fake wall because this was a murder-suicide.
Yes, it was.
So he's actually hidden behind a fake wall, but the wall was built a bit too closely towards
the toilet pipe. Yeah.
The toilet pipe. What they do is they take down a bit of the wall, and you can see Alan is there, who basically suffocated himself to death.
Yeah, well, no, he didn't. He ODs. So that's what Jonathan also finds a little cotton swab, but they don't really talk about it much. No, and the cotton swab's like they don't do it anymore, but put cotton in the top of a bottle of drugs.
Oh, okay.
So he ODs behind the wall.
Yeah.
So yeah, he builds a fake wall with a foot of space, so he can hide behind it, so it looks like Jack killed himself.
Yeah.
Looks like he's been washed away at sea, essentially to make Jack look guilty.
Yeah.
And to get revenge. to essentially tarnish his name in his own death. Like, he's that
Yeah.
pissed off that he's done that, and the things that gave him away with that. And when Jonathan takes that 100-watt light bulb back and puts it back, you can see the wall isn't perfect.
Yeah.
Whereas the 40-watt bulb kind of hid some of the discrepancies.
Yeah.
They take it down, they find out the Rokesmith's behind it, and that's it. That's it. There's a little kind of gag at the end, which I've got a little fact for you if you want it. So what's the gag at the end? Do you remember?
He keeps trying to make himself slip on a banana peel, and then he actually does by running on it.
But he doesn't. It's not a banana pill, is it?
It's dog poo.
He says, it's bad. He's like, you didn't prove the thing about the banana pill, but that's dog poo, so it's slippery. So, back in the silent cinema days, and people slipping on bananas, it was known that that was a euphemism for dog poo.
Oh, okay.
Because people would slip on dog poo in the street.
Yeah.
But they also couldn't show dog poo in cinema at that time. So actually, bananas, now still considered a slippery thing and still used in cartoons and whatever else in comedy, was always meant to be dog poo. It's just a little, I don't know if they put that in knowing that, or whoever wrote it didn't know it, if David Renwick didn't know it.
I mean, it's clever. That's actually very clever.
Yeah, it's just a little thing for you. What do you think of the episode?
I think it's really good.
Very good, isn't it?
It's a really good mystery, and it's built up on the characters, but just from a mystery point of view, wow, it's a dark twist.
It is. It's very dark. What do you think of Jonathan Creek? Of the 3 episodes you've watched?
2.5.
Yeah.
It's really good. I think it's really good, and probably something I can see what's going to do, like a good mystery, like a good, whodunit mystery, like whatever. I like the comedy of it. I think Alan Davies, because all I've known him from is QY and a bit of stand-up. So
Yeah.
to see him act, it's been quite refreshing.
Yeah, he's very good as well.
Yeah, he's really good at it.
For anyone who else who wants to go on and watch it, and if you want to go on and watch it, there's 5 series, and there's like a handful of specials as well. So the specials, I think, are technically still going, quote unquote, even though they haven't done one in 6 or 7 years, I think. But there's been no official thing of it being cancelled, I don't believe.
But the thing is, the show's quite interesting because the last official episode was done in 2016.
Yes.
So the show's technically lasted 19 years.
At that point, yeah.
At that point, so.
But I don't think it's been officially cancelled. I think they're going to keep it, in 3 more years, they could do another episode. Just a one-off. That's what they do. Christmas episodes, Easter episodes, specials when they want to wheel them out, essentially. After a few series, Karen and Quentin does leave. Maddie goes.
I heard about this. It's because she was pregnant.
Yes.
They didn't bring her back.
She wasn't working, yeah. Because they replaced, so over the time, almost like Doctor Who. The word companions is used in Doctor Who to describe the Doctor's mates who hang around with him. And in that respect, then some of the new companions are Carla, played by Julia Sawalha. Do you know Julia Sawalha?
No.
She is. You ever watched Absolutely Fabulous? Ab-Fab?
Yes.
She's the daughter.
Oh.
By this point, a lot older though.
Yeah.
Although I think she was in her 20s when she played the daughter. Very good actor, Julia Sawalha. Another one, a different companion, quote unquote, if you will. Joey, played by Sheridan Smith. You know Sheridan Smith?
No.
2 pints of lager and a packet of crisps.
Never watched
She was
it.
Scylla in the new Scylla Black biog from like 7 years ago. The Royal Family.
No.
You'd know Sheridan Smith if you saw her. And then Sarah Alexander from Coupling, Green Wing, Smack the Pony.
Oh, yeah.
She plays Jonathan's wife in the future. So Polly Creek.
He has a wife?
He gets married, but you don't see him get married. Just it's kind of there's a bit of a 4 or 5 year gap, and then he's married. So there are some other characters to come and stuff. Most of the mysteries are quite intriguing. There's a couple of really good ones.
Oh, okay.
I mean, most of them are good, but there's a couple of very good ones. David Renwick clearly likes his proper mysteries, and he's very good at writing them as well.
Clearly, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of it for Jonathan Creek. So, Tim, what is my required reading for next time, for 2 weeks?
For 2 weeks, so, you like action, don't you?
Don't mind a bit of action.
You enjoyed the John Wick movies, didn't you?
I did.
So, we're going to go back to the world of martial arts. We're going to go to Indonesia this time.
Indonesia, you say? Okay.
Yes, we're going to cover a movie from 2011. I would say a very popular movie. It's actually probably inspired quite a lot of modern martial arts movies now. The Raid.
The Raid. I've heard of The Raid. I've not watched it. Some of my friends, I used to work in a media shop of some description, and my friends, a couple of them were very into their Asian cinema, and The Raid was often mentioned.
And there's a reason for that. But yeah, that is your required read. Let's go do the one movie. I don't want to read off the second one because that's a very long movie.
Okay, maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future, but for now, we're just going to cover the first movie. It's available on Netflix, so if you guys at home want to watch it before the episode comes out, you can watch it there. I can only say that for our UK listeners. I don't know about America, but VPNs exist.
Thank you for listening to Cult Classic Society. I'm Bobby Davies. You can find me at bdaviescreative or bdavies_creative on Instagram. Also, follow Purpose Wrestling, the wrestling company I co-run with my friend David Francisco, previously mentioned on this podcast as someone who can teach but cannot do. You can follow that Purpose Wrestling at Purpose Wrestling on Instagram, at Purpose Wrestling on TikTok, and at Wrestle Purpose, because Purpose Wrestling was taken on Twitter. Also, youtube.com/Purpose Wrestling, because that's where you can watch all the matches and you can hear more of me because I'm the commentator, and that's what everybody wants. Where can we find you, Tim?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at the Tim Martini. You can also follow me. You can listen to me on Spotify, Timothy Martini. There's only one song in there, but come on, listen to that once we're going to repeat because it's really good.
And you can also listen to Tim on this podcast on Spotify. But you're already doing that.
So, if you want to do it again, listen to the next episode. Or listen to some previous ones.
We can really do with some listen bumps. So if you go back to the early ones and listen again, it's all about re-listening.
This is a John Wick episode. Come on, just listen to my tangent about Ruby Rose,
Yeah. We'll probably do a highlight package for episode 50. We'll do a highlight package of Tim's thirsting.
There's a lot of it. And it'll never stop.
You can follow Cult Classic Society at CC Society Pod on Instagram, and it's the same on TikTok, right, Tim?
Yes, it's the same on TikTok.
If you want to email us, we are ccsocietypod@gmail.com, and thanks for listening.
Bye.
See ya.